Welcome to today's BRSN Insider. I am sitting down with head football coach Larry Wilcox. Coach, nice to have you here with us today.
Thanks for asking me.
So we had your spring game this past Sunday. White team beat the black squad 14-7. What were your thoughts on the game?
Well, I was glad we had a nice afternoon to be able to play the game, first of all, and there was a threat of rain going into it. We had a beautiful day and nice crowd turned out for the game. I told the guys afterwards, I think we had about as many people there as some games on the road that we play during the regular season, so that was nice to have that kind of support. We got a lot accomplished, I believe. We feel like everyone got an opportunity to play a substantial amount during the game, and with as large a team as we have, sometimes that's difficult to do, but we're able to accomplish that, and so I think hopefully most of the players feel good about their opportunity on the day anyway.
Now we'll go ahead and talk about the quarterback situation you guys have. Obviously, Jacob Kester looks like he's going to be the starter for next year. We'll go ahead and talk about the battle for the second quarterback spot.
All sports people want to talk about the quarterback. I'd rather talk about the right guard or the left defensive end. But Jake didn't play as much as some of the other guys probably, but then we had an opportunity to see Jake a lot throughout the season last year. We were really pleased with his performance in 2015. I think he continued to build on that during the spring practices primarily, and has exceptional arm strength, and his knowledge of our offense is continuing to improve and get better each day. So it's great having him returning. Hopefully we'll also return Kyle Harmich, who did not play on Sunday but was our starting quarterback 2 years ago, and he needed to redshirt this last fall because of an injury situation. And then we have two other guys that are primarily in the mix at this time, Schaefer Sheets, a freshman in the program, and Eden Kovac, who will be a senior in the program. So we've got veterans, two returning starter quarterbacks. We have two other guys that we feel that we have confidence in and should know what they're doing. So quarterbacks should be a strength for us going into the season. And
we'll go ahead and talk about that offensive line, because you got to replace some guys like Hayden Smith and Amadou Conti. So what did you see from your offensive line on Sunday?
Well, I think that we're ahead of schedule from where I projected we would be going into the spring. I think our first five worked a lot as a unit and became much more at ease with working with one another and aware of what the other ones were doing, and that's what you need from an offensive line. There's much more communication that goes on in the offensive line than the average fan would probably anticipate, and those guys have to know what the other guy's doing each down, and so I think we've come a long way there, but there's still a ways to go.
Now we'll go ahead and talk about those guys will be blocking for. We'll go talk about Tyler Hennis. He struggled this last year, had some injury issues, but from what we saw on Sunday, he looked like he was back to his old form.
Well, Tyler was coming off a fairly major surgery last summer going into the season, and we weren't even sure if he was going to be able to play or not. He did play. He performed well, but not as well as the previous year, and so everyone had sort of set the bar and anticipated tremendous things. He gave us good things, but I think that he, more than anybody else, was motivated to go into this year in top physical condition and really make his final season his best, and I know that's his goal, and he's a very driven and committed player, so we would hope that would happen for him.
Now we'll move to the defensive side of the ball. What were some of the things you saw on the defensive side during the spring game?
Well, I was really pleased with what our defensive coaches did in taking a look at so many players, and probably the best thing that we did through the spring and what they did was develop the depth that I think that we're going to have going into next season. And so you can't just win with 11 guys, and I think that we're 2 and even 3 deep at many of those defensive positions, and would anticipate a number of guys contributing significantly in what success we'll have this next year.
So because you got to replace some guys like Burrow Brisbane, Dre Graves, Josh Rhodes. Who are some of those guys that could replace those guys in those positions?
Well, I don't think we're ready to put that information out there yet, but somebody's going to have to replace them, and as we told the players and as we do each year, we're going to take a lot of time and look at this film over and over, as well as the other practice tapes that we have from the spring, and try and come up with the best depth that we can. We got to wait and make sure that everybody's academically ready to go and eligibility's all done and those kind of things, and then we'll come up with an initial plan going into the year. But there's always the potential and the probability that there'll be changes once we come back to campus and get involved in the fall practices. We do have to do that in a rather short turnaround. Our timetable between first practice and first game is very limited, and probably more so than most schools, and so we'll have a lot to do in a short period of time.
Now we'll go ahead. We'll talk about the recruiting class you brought in. A good-sized class this year. Well, who are some of the guys that you'd like to highlight out of that class?
Well, a few of those guys came in at semester in January here, and hopefully they'll be able to contribute immediately as a transfer player. But I think there were several freshmen that probably were at the top of our list. Blake from Kansas City is a first-team All-State wide receiver and a big guy at about 6'4" and 220, and a great student. So I think he's going to be a good one for us. And then Lilly from St. Joe LeBlond, Eli Lilly, defensive end, I think is a guy who can have a great career at Benedictine. And what's always fun for us as a coaching staff is to see those guys who really make the commitment that it takes to be a good college football player, and understand that it doesn't happen overnight, that it's a process. It's going to take a little time to transition from a high school player to a college player, and they'll make the commitment to do the things they need to do to accomplish that.
We'll jump back to the wide receiver position. You got a guy like Christian Hack, but who are we going to see behind him? Obviously, Christian's number one. What other guys are we going to see?
Yeah, well, hopefully the crew that we had out there this last year is going to be ready to go. Jamal Kirkland and David Claypool and Nate Nicholson and Dakota Brocknow, and then several of the freshmen, Tanner McLaren and Logan Harris, and some other guys are also going to be in that mix. And so I think there'll be depth at that position as well.
All right, Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Head Coach Larry Wilcox of the Benedictine College football team here on the BRSN Insider. Welcome back into the BRSN Insider. I am sitting down with the new head men's soccer coach here at Benedictine College, Miguel Rodrigues. Miguel, nice to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I guess you can just give us your background, where you came from, and why you chose Benedictine College.
Yeah, I was born in Brazil. When I was 7, my family moved to Miami, Florida, and I got a chance to play for a very good club team out of Miami. Used that. I played, was able to play college soccer, finished my career here at UMKC. After that, I just sort of got into college, into coaching itself. Coached a year of high school soccer back in Miami. Spent the last 5-6 years in coaching college at UMKC, and most recently at Niagara University.
So, why did you choose to come to Benedictine?
Well, one of my years I coached at Avila University, and obviously having played and coached at UMKC, Benedictine sort of holds a reputation in the community for being a good, prestigious university, both academically and athletically. And that fit very much so with my values as well, and sort of what I was trying to do. So when the opportunity came, it was something I had to look into. I think just the reputation that it has and the alumni that graduate from the university sort of speak for themselves.
Now, what did you know about the guys on the team coming in?
To be honest, I knew very little about the specific players. I'd worked with a lot of them previously when they were younger, just because my assistant coach at UMKC, Fred Schlichting, coached some of them, and I had a chance to sort of see them and work with them a little bit when I was a player. But that was several years back.
So how has the transition gone so far for you?
It's been very smooth. The guys have welcomed me in. They've really sort of been very patient with me during the entire process. The administration here has been phenomenal, and obviously the campus is easy to fall in love with.
So what kind of soccer should we expect from a Miguel Rodrigues coach team?
For the most part, you know, having been born in Brazil and sort of being raised in a Latin sort of community, I like to think of my style as being very attack-minded, very much so trying to implement our style on the opposing team and less trying to react to what they're doing.
So how you guys are just completed your spring training sessions? How did those go for you?
I think they went well. I think the time is always too short. The training sessions are never long enough, and all of those sorts of things, especially trying to implement my sort of signature into the program. But I think more important than anything, I think it was sort of a Cliff Notes version of what we were trying to do. I think they understand what's important for us as a coaching staff and what we're trying to do and how we're trying to build the squad up. And it gives them, more importantly, I think it gives them something to go into the summer thinking about when they're, playing or when they're training or anything like that.
Now, who are some of the guys that have stood out to you so far?
Oh, I think it's hard to just sort of pinpoint everyone. I think really we're still learning where they're going to fit within the program. I mean, obviously our captain, Brian Johnson, is an incredible leader, and I think the guys really look to him for that. Caleb as well, just kind of helping out with the team as well, being one of the captains currently. So I think those sort of things play themselves out over time. So I don't necessarily think there's anyone that's gonna be the star in any sense.
So you guys just completed your KC soccer day this past weekend. How did that go for you guys?
It went well. Overall, we went 2-1-1 in scrimmages. It's hard to not always win and be satisfied with it, but I think overall the guys did very well. I think overall they really bought into the system. They really bought into what we were trying to do, and I'm proud of them for that.
So who did you guys play this past weekend?
Drury, Mid-America, UMKC, and Avila.
So what was it like going against the former team that you had coached?
Honestly, I don't necessarily think of it that way. I think every game is sort of the same sort of thing. Whether we would have won or whether we would have lost wouldn't have really necessarily impacted. I would have wanted to win it, whether it was UMKC or not. But that's just sort of the way I approach every game. You sort of respect your opponents. You never fear them, regardless of who they are or how well you know them.
So what were some things that you saw from your team that you were impressed with?
I think overall they're an extremely coachable team. They are very firm as a unit, and I think that it'd be very interesting to see how that continues to play itself out moving forward.
And what were some things you guys saw that you might need to work on going in to the fall?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just understanding sort of the way I want to play or the way I want to approach the game. And that's something that happens over time. I mean, just 2 months worth of training sessions, a month and a half's worth of training sessions will never be enough to get a full spectrum of what we're looking to do as a team.
Now, are you going to do any recruiting, or how's that going to work for you guys?
Yes, we'll always be doing recruiting. You're always trying to add more or build on what you have currently. So we'll be doing. We've done some recruiting already. We'll be looking to do more recruiting, and you always kind of want to stay ahead of the curve.
So how's that going for you at this point in time?
It's going very, very well. I think we've got a sort of a firm understanding of where we are here within the community, and I believe that sort of using kind of even a broader base to just really look into players from everywhere.
So what kind of formation are you going to run?
I am not one of those kind of coaches that tries to stick people into a formation. I really would like to look at my best players and sort of come up with something that fits them better than them fitting into something that I make up.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you on here.
Thank you very much.
head coach Miguel Rodrigues of the Benedictine College men's soccer team on the BRSN Insider.